Hey everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. And special thanks to Cora Apinga for sharing this. In today's video, we'll hear Patricia King defending Todd White in response to Mike Winger's recent video. She was Todd's mentor when he first got into the NAR crowd, and they've been deceiving people together for a long time. So this video shouldn't come as any surprise, but it does prove that once again, birds of a feather flock together and wolves hunt in packs.
Someone sent me a link to a documentary the other night, and it was about Todd. They were trying to disqualify Todd. And they were saying that he was a false healer and that he was manipulating the growing out of legs. Well, interestingly enough, they were using my footage. It's my ministry's footage. I could actually probably sue for copyright violations because it was my footage from years ago.
Actually, you couldn't sue anyone because using public clips is protected under the fair use law. But let's continue.
I'm not going to do that, of course, because that's not my heart, and I don't want to do that. But I found it interesting that they were using my footage and trying to prove through what they showed on one small part of the video, on an encounter we are having on the street. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. You know, we were out on the street, these kids came off the bus and they're sitting, we're talking to them about Jesus, we're working miracles, and eventually it just grew into a full-on street corner revival with people coming to Jesus and getting healed and all kinds of things. It was amazing, and we have the footage of that. So, but on this documentary, they only show one little part, and then they show another piece that they added onto it from another video showing that Todd was manipulating the miracle. He was not. I was there. I saw it.
But you can say you saw it all you want. So did we. And the clip is clear that Todd was manipulating the foot.
What they didn't show was this, is that the kid, after being healed, after he felt his leg, or as the leg was growing out, he's saying, I feel it, man, I feel it. This is on the video. I feel it. You know, and he said, whoa, I feel it. And it was his very first encounter that he ever had with God, that he actually felt his leg grow out, and it grew out in front of us all. It was not being manipulated, but it was being like these claims that Todd was manipulating it were on there, and it was an absolute lie.
But it wasn't a lie. The video clip proves that. And you said that you have the original video, so why aren't you showing it? And regardless of your story, atheist Darren Brown has shown that the placebo effect is very real when he, quote unquote, prayed for people on the street and they also claim to feel things. The same thing happens in Benny Hinn conventions to the extremes of a kid believing his blindness was actually healed, but it wasn't.
It was a lie, and it was done with intention, I know. And by the way, that's what a lie is, okay? A lie, this is the definition of a lie. A lie is an intention to deceive, an intention to deceive. So it's a false statement with an intention to deceive. But if there's no intention to deceive, then it's not a lie. So if you say something like a misstatement, a wrong statement, but you didn't intend to deceive anyone, then that's not a lie. You know, it's not the truth, but it's not a lie. But when you manipulate footage to make a point that is not true, and you're intending to give that impression, that is a lie.
But nobody manipulated footage. They slowed it down to show what was really happening.
And when you show video clips where you don't show the context of a message, but you just take a clip out of here, a clip out of there, and put it all together, and you present a picture of something that's not true, and you do that intentionally to make a point there, that is a lie, okay? That is a lie. So we have to be careful that we are not misrepresenting truth. So just wanted to say that when in the midst of all this exposure, I think God's allowing a lot of things to be shown for what they are.
Yes, God is. And he's not only allowing it, he's using some of his children to expose false teachers because he's warned us of them in almost every book in the New Testament.
I think God's allowing a lot of things to be shown for what they are. But we need to be very holy when we are dealing with these exposures, because God is dealing with each human being. He is working in their heart, and he is making appeals. He's sending people to them. He's giving them opportunity to repent. And God is patient.
Yes, God is patient, and the fact he hasn't struck down many of these deceivers is proof of that.
That's the, I mean, I'm not like always patient like I should be, but God, he is so patient. I wonder sometimes why he is so patient with me, why he's so patient with others, but he is patient, and love is patient. And so he's dealing with people, and sometimes we can interrupt the process and put our own judgments in there, or don't listen to the whole thing. We don't listen to both sides, and we're making charges, and we sometimes have people where they are the prosecutor, they're the judge, and they're the jury, all in one person, put out to the whole world. And I just say we need to be careful. Now, I am not accusing anyone of doing that, okay? I'm just saying.
Yes, you are. You're totally accusing people of doing that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking about it.
Now, I'm not saying that everything that's being brought forth is false evidence, not at all. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be doing that. That's between them and God. If they've got an assignment to do it, they'll stand before God on that.
Well, if it's an assignment from God to expose false teachers, then it's a godly mission. And yes, we will stand before him. So we better be honest about what we're doing.
If they've got an assignment to do it, they'll stand before God on that. So you got to be obedient to what God is saying. But if it's not in love, and if love isn't the motive, and if it's stirring hate, and the fruit of it is hate and slander and more accusation in that, there's just things in the word that speak about that.
Hopefully, any channel that is doing an expose video is doing it with love. We love people that are seeking God's truth, and that's why we expose the false apostles, false prophets, and false teachers God has warned us of in the Bible. And we hate the fact that people are being deceived, but we don't hate the deceivers. We can only pray that they'd repent, get right with God, and stop deceiving people. Unfortunately, some, if not many, are the very people mentioned of in 2 Timothy 3:1-3. These are evildoers, imposters, that is, fake Christians, wolves in sheep's clothing. And they themselves are deceiving people because they're deceived.
So when I'm asked, okay, what are you going to say now about Todd White? Come forward. What are you going to say about this person? What are you going to say about that? Give me your statement. It's like, whoa, let's hold on. And right now, I am not making any statement about Todd White, except to say, I love Todd. I've always seen him to be a righteous man and known him personally. I'm not with him 24/7. In fact, we don't even live in the same city, and so we don't get together that often. But I'm telling you that right from when I first met him, which was almost 20 years ago, I believe, I've known him as a really good person who loves God with all his heart and is totally passionate for the Lord. And I have spoken to him. I called him about the 25 points that have recently been brought up. And his story is very, very different.
Well, of course, his story is going to be very different, and only time will reveal the truth on this matter. But that aside, Todd's leg lengthening has been proven fake on camera, and that's undeniable. Not to mention his many other false teachings. And you can find those in his playlist here on Revealing Truth, or on the many other videos exposing him on other channels. When I first watched Todd White, I was deceived by him and thought he was a great man of God. But by God's grace and in his timing, God showed me the errors and lies that Todd was teaching. And over time, they've just gotten worse. So if you are a supporter of Todd, please be open-minded and look at the exposed videos on him. This isn't about Todd. This is about God and defending those who are representing him truthfully and exposing those who aren't. So with that being said, we're going to leave it here for today, but feel free to leave your comments below, and until next time, take care and God bless.